We have no shortage of really fantastic text editors on Linux. We have some really great text editors available to us as Linux users. Two of my favorite text editors, of course, are Vim and Emacs. These days, I'm an Emacs user. I have been for a few years now, and I've probably made 40 or 50 videos by now about Emacs. And before that, as a longtime Vim user, I probably made about 40 or 50 videos discussing Vim on this channel. So I've made a lot of Vim and Emacs content, but not everybody wants to use Vim and Emacs because they're kind of deep topics and they have their own peculiarities, especially because you have to learn a set of key bindings, and not everybody wants to have to learn a whole new way of typing. Some people just want your standard graphical plain text editor that doesn't involve key chords and key combinations and things like that. And I have discussed some of those editors as well. I've done videos about Genie, which is fantastic. Doesn't have to use Vim key bindings or anything like that, but it is a very nice IDE that comes with a file tree and a mini map and a plugin system and really nice color schemes. I've also discussed Notepad QQ, which is a kind of a Notepad++ clone, but it's available to us on Linux, where the standard Notepad++ is Windows only. But today I came across a text editor, a plain text editor, that just blows all of that out of the water. And that text editor is called Lite-XL. So what is Lite-XL? Well, you can see from their website here, it's a lightweight, simple, fast, feature-filled, and extremely extensible text editor written in C and Lua, adapted from Lite. So there was a previous text editor called Lite, which I never used Lite. So they took this really simple editor called Lite, and I guess they extended it to now have more features, and it's called Lite-XL. And just from the screenshots here, you can see you've got your little project tree, your tree view on the side. You've got tabs, you've got splits. There's a vertical split and a horizontal split, and you've also got basically a command prompt, kind of like you would do like a meta X inside Emacs, and then launch commands. You can do that with Lite-XL, and it's got a plugin system. If I click on plugins, here is a GitHub page listing all of the plugins. Let me go ahead and launch Lite-XL. So let me launch it here on this workspace, and you can see when you first launch it, you get Lite-XL, the version number, and it does give you some key bindings. When I say you don't have to learn any key bindings, you don't have to learn any key bindings to just edit text, right? It's just your standard plain text editor like Microsoft Windows Notepad, right? But you could do a Control-Shift-P to run a command. So Control-Shift-P is basically kind of like meta X in Emacs, right? When we can give it a command, for example, you can see one is called new doc. Let's do new doc, and you can see it just opens a new document unsaved, basically an empty file. If you want to actually search for a file, you could do Control P. It's kind of like your find file command in Emacs. So Control P, and maybe I want to open my bash RC, and there is the bash RC. Doesn't look like we have any kind of bash syntax highlighting. Well, let's do another file. So I'll do Control P. Let's go to my .config, and tab complete does work while searching. And let's search for the qtile config.py, and you can see syntax highlighting works rather nicely here in Python. And you'll notice on the far right hand side, I've got a mini map. Now this mini map is not a built-in plugin for Lite-XL. What I did, just to see how the third-party plugins work, let me go back to my web browser here. I actually went to the Lite-XL website, and they have a FAQ, frequently asked questions, and they have plugin recommendations, and they have this group of plugins down here. One of them is Minimap, and if you click on it, it just gives you this page with some source code. It's a minimap.lua, so it's a Lua file. And I just copied this Lua file, and then in your home directory in .config/Lite-XL/plugins, put the minimap.lua. Just drop that file in there, and the next time you run Lite-XL, you will have a mini-map. You have some quick launcher buttons here for opening a new file, saving a file, searching for a file, finding a file, essentially, running a command, and the settings. Now, of course, if you knew key bindings or you knew the commands to run these with the Control-Shift-P prompt here, you could just type the command. But again, we've got quick launchers for some of the more common things that you're going to do. Let's click on the settings, because this is interesting. The settings is Incredible. There's a lot of stuff you can actually play here in the settings. For one thing, you have the core settings, such as, changing some of the user interface. You can set up your spacing and tabs and the default line numbers for wrapping, things like that. There are color schemes. For me, I went with one dark, which is essentially one dark, dark one, doom one. That's all the same color scheme. This is a color scheme I typically use in my Emacs. But you can see you have about, I don't know, 25 or 30 different color schemes to choose from. Then you have the plugin section. If I click on installed here, these are all the ones that are already installed. There's a couple of them that are turned off. Draw white space and trim white space are turned off by default, but you can turn them on if you want. Let's fold that back up. Some other ones, auto reload is turned off. You could turn it on if you wanted. You can see line wrapping here, line wrapping mode by letters or words. I've got the mini map here now because I added that mini map myself, but it knows it's there, and here's some of the settings we could play with the mini map that I added. And one of the really nice things for a user like me, I actually do like key bindings. Now, you're not going to get Vim bindings in Lite-XL. I do think there is a third-party plugin that gives you some Vim bindings, like the Vim modes, insert mode, normal mode, things like that, but I'm not going to play with that. But I do want key bindings for a lot of actions. Like, I like having that Control P for the prompt here for basically finding a file. But you have a million key bindings that are already built in here for you to learn if you want to learn them. For example, I've got 4 tabs open. I believe you navigate the tabs with the Alt key plus a number. So if I do Alt 1, it'll take me to that first tab, the unsaved document there. Alt 2 would take me back to the bash RC. Alt 3 back to my Qtile config, and Alt 4 takes me back to the settings tab that I was in. Now on their website, you saw in the screenshots that you do have vertical splits and horizontal splits available to you. Those are key binded, and I believe is it Alt Shift and then HJKL? Let me try it. Alt Shift L for right gives me a right split. And from here, I could do Control P to find a file, and maybe I've got a Lua file here, which has nice syntax highlighting. And if I wanted to do this time a horizontal split, I could do Alt Shift and K to split up or down. J and K up and down. Of course, H is left, L is right. So Alt Shift HJKL for splitting in whatever direction you want to go in. So let me go ahead and close these splits. So this is a very quick overview. Again, a million different things you could play with here in the settings for Lite-XL. One thing I'll say is for a plain text editor, a GUI plain text editor, I think it is a nice middle ground because it doesn't force you to learn the Vim bindings or the Emacs bindings or the Cocoon bindings, all those really extensible, flexible text editors that you really have to spend weeks, if not months, learning, getting used to their way of doing things. This is very much a gedit kind of text editor, right? It's got a little bit more going on than something like gedit or Cade. Well, I don't know, Cade's pretty full featured these days as well. But what I love about this is it has some really neat power user kind of features with that really fantastic plugin system and all the cool syntax highlighting, the various color schemes. You got your project tree view here on the side. And again, there's a lot of third-party plugins out there available for you. It is under active development. It is also free and open source software. I didn't mention that, but over on their GitHub, it is licensed under the MIT license. So for years, I have been recommending people that didn't want to go the Vim or the Emacs route. You just want a regular text editor. For years, Genie has been the one I pretty much universally recommend. Go try Genie for a nice text editor / IDE. But honestly, just a little bit of time I've played with Lite-XL, I think this is going to start being the non-Vim, non-Emacs text editor that I tell people, go try. And it's not just for Linux. I say go try for you guys watching my channel. Most of you guys are Linux users, but it is also available on Windows. It's available on Mac. They've got binary packages over on their GitHub. They have an app image also over on their GitHub. Go check out the releases on the GitHub page. For those of you on Arch Linux or Arch-based distributions like I am, I found Lite-XL in the AUR, so I installed it with Paru. Now, before I go, I need to thank a few special people. I need to thank the producers of this episode, and of course, I'm talking about Daniel, Gabe, James, Matt, Paul, Royal, Wes, Armor Dragon, Commander Angry, George, Lee, Methos, Nate, Jan, Paul, Peace, Arch, and Fedora, Realities for Less, Red Prophet, Roland, Souls, Astray, Tools, Devler, Wargento, and Ubuntu, and Willie. These guys, they're my highest tiered patrons over on Patreon. Without these guys, this quick look at Lite-XL, it wouldn't have been possible. The show's also brought to you by each and every one of these fine ladies and gentlemen. All these wonderful names you're seeing, these wonderful people that help support my work because I don't have any corporate sponsors. I'm sponsored by you guys, the community. If you like my work and want to see more videos about Linux and free and open source software, subscribe to DistroTube over on Patreon. Peace, guys.